the warranty because it's Medicare covered, so. But yeah, we're gonna look at that because it just gets to.
One meeting done.
It's a lot, yeah. Plus, supposed to not have to do a lot of calibrations, but 5 or 6 times a day, I'm having to stick my finger and calibrate this pump. It's got automatic features and they haven't developed it to the point where you don't have to keep telling it where you are.
Well, we don't want you to peace. We want you to.
Especially in the middle of the night. And it wakes Jess up for
Yes. Does anybody want the correspondence or the announcements in printed form?
Yeah.
Yes. You're right.
Beautiful.
I'm good.
I was good, so I saw you and then I gotta go.
Yep.
Somebody left me a box of puzzles.
Correspondence or announcements in print?
Okay.
Yes, we appreciate that snacking.
You have a great fest.
That was.
She was down.
You're good?
Lunch on Wednesdays.
Oh, yeah.
In about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
My mom wants to go, so I'm gonna take my mom. What time does it start?
And I think that. There's a big group that comes really early and then it starts to thin out, but if you wait till 12.
If you wait for 12, sometimes you don't get it.
You don't get it,
They're sold out.
but I just don't.
A couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, they had the meat open, they ran out.
Yeah, there was something else I was really looking forward to.
Today we had chicken pot pie and it was really
I
good.
really, I had everything coming and my son's in ER last night with CBT and Ramble and and he's still in the ER because they don't have.
Do you hear my name?
And I'm down this afternoon. That and the point since I got home and took off and went down. That was in the afternoon. I mean, he's been sitting there since going. There's a super family history here. We've been through this like with my other son and with my daughter. So it's and my husband. I said, I'm the only one left out of that unplugged dinner. So I'm sorry, my line. Strong family genetic history. So
But the blood thinners.
yeah.
I think we've got ourselves all organized now, Mark, so we're trying to keep going on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, so we are in public participation, which is the Fayetteville Perry Friends of the Library.
Hi. I'm gonna be speaking on behalf of Friends this evening. Rachel Ray, once again, and we came tonight just to say thank you, really, for the shed and for everything that you guys do for us here. We're pretty passionate about what we're doing here for our library, and that surely is helping quite a bit with managing what we're doing here. So thank you very much for that. We also wanted to present you guys with the second and final $1,000 check for that. So it's $1,000 for you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I was gonna say fiscal officer. That's what I'm thinking is that.
You and Sarah should stand up
Yes.
and hand as you're.
Yeah.
Do a little shake.
How about all of you who are here representing? Yes. Well, you know, I'll do like the upper, and how about our branch manager too? Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I don't need.
Yes.
Sure, I will end up in front.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that's perfect.
Great. That is wonderful. You know, and you say you appreciate us and what we do or what the board does actually, because they are also volunteers as well as you being volunteers. But we are so grateful for your community support right
Yes.
here.
Yes.
We want to be mindful of the time we're active. We know that's valuable. We brought a little treat for you guys. Not just-
Thank you.
it's gonna be something. You know, you're gonna be here, we might, just because that's who we have here. We have passionate people, but. Those are
And we like shoes. Some Ziploc baggies if you want to take them.
Thank you very much. If there's stuff that you need from us or help, if there's something that we can do. We want to make sure that you guys know that we're here, we're an active part of what's happening here, and we want to continue to maintain that friendship and relationship with you guys as well as the staff here.
It adds so much more to the library when you have a group like this.
Yes. I agree.
There's plenty more not here too, that
Yes.
could be our members that aren't here.
Yeah,
that
there's
may-
we showed it's not here. We had 3 new ones here in the last.
We did.
week.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
We're-
there.
Yeah.
And I love your shirts.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Winner that's got one sleeve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Short.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah, I really appreciate coming. Thank you so much.
Contribution for.
Kindle cover.
I don't know, do you know about candle cover? You'll have to talk about it.
My grandson got me a new one.
Oh, well, our yard sale's coming up in September.
We could auction it off. along with,
September, we're having a yard sale.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Bunch of books. If you wanted me to drive down, and get them, I said, you drive up and bring it.
Hey, first, full day.
Very cool.
Cover. Then we have the Easter, we have the Fireman's Parade that's coming up on the 18th of June.
They do
Oh, and
outreach.
we also
Our
have.
friends do outreach.
Wow.
Kidman and Bell on the 10th of June. It's coming up.
It's very cool.
Fundraisers.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I don't know of any more. Do you know what else? is going
got a whole
on
list of
today?
So not-
Well, let me just say, so in addition to putting out in the communities, they support the programs that go into that.
Which is huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure
Get
that when, when
Yeah.
Cha-ching comes our.
If you get a new one, you're at $25. It's, I forget what edition it is, but.
Kathleen, I'll come to your house and take everything that you don't want. And we'll
Well, I-
raffle it off.
I don't even.
Start putting them in a box.
Maybe I better start locking my house.
We'll come down.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody, we can definitely.
To the library, so, yeah, the library, you know.
What date is your yard sale?
So I think they're gonna. do
May
it during
7th, 8th.
Fireman's
Well, my daughter
Okay.
says. we're-
That's not our yard. The yard sales in fall, you said?
I don't know, I wasn't at the last meeting, I thought we.
September, the yard sale.
Well, I'm just asking because we're starting to go through things at the house and I am gonna have some books and things I want to bring up and.
Yeah, the yard
So-
sale. would be over.
Right, and the other stuff that maybe we could take to Hope, we can bring here, so.
Oh, they keep asking me to, I keep telling them. That's what we're gonna do. Yard sale.
You're what?
The yard sale, we're gonna do it.
Oh, good idea.
Next to the firemen.
Oh, say that.
That's a
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you. Thanks for saying.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, girls. Thank you. Well,
Thanks, Rita.
thank you.
Yeah, later.
Maybe shut that. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
They are adorable.
Excited about what they do.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Mhm.
All right, number three, let's keep it rolling. Number three, approval of minutes of the February 2023 Records Commission and special and regular board meetings.
I move we approve.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
It's just me coming back. I thought you told her.
Okay.
Oh,
Did you want? It was just on the news and people said they're using a cruise without work. You have to walk. Yes. Okay, do we have a motion?
yes.
Okay, we're already good.
And a
Okay.
second. We just haven't
All right.
done the roll.
I did the
On
roll.
Oh, you
to,
did.
on to correspondence, Lynn.
Yes, so Public Library Fund for March is a little over 114,000 to county, about 70,700 for our share. And it continues, it was up about 5% last month from their projections, and it's up about 5% this month from their projections. We'll take it. And Ohio Library Council is focusing very much on state budget right now because it's the season for the state budget. But there's some other legislation going on as well. OLC is really good about doing some webinars, and it seems like they schedule them when I'm in the middle of something else. I'm gone, I'm in another meeting I can't rearrange, so I get to watch canned versions, and it's changing all the time. So we'll keep you updated. Nobody's been told, we have not been told yet to be in direct contact with our legislators about library specific things, but I anticipate that will be coming. It usually does during this cycle.
And they're doing a legislative day at the House too.
Yes, they do that. Usually it's in April every year. Often they do it the same day as board meeting. They didn't this time though, it's later. And so I actually do plan on going. Heather and I will both go. And we probably will ride share with, Claremont County as they head up to, and so, because we also coordinate meetings with shared legislators, and so, we do that kind of thing and try to prepare short, sweet little, why we thank you for your service, but we really need you to vote whatever, whatever the party line is at that point in time, because we work really hard as a group, a statewide group of libraries, to send a unified message to the legislators, so that they don't get any more confused than they need to be because of all the different things that they're hearing about this. So the other bill that we should be paying attention to, so the state budget is HB 33. But there is also an HB1, and that is a tax reform proposal, which is causing a lot of conversation, a lot of stir, flat tax and this, and I mean, there's just lots of moving pieces. OLC is in conversation regularly with people who, my goodness, I lost the word, what they introduced the bill. And they admit that it's not going to look like what it looks like now, by the time they get all done. So, but we are working with other groups, like the county commissioners group and the county auditors group and other local governments who are really, and schools who are going to be hurt by a lot of the things that are in this initial proposal. It's going to impact local levies. It's going to impact rollbacks. There are a lot of things that if they went through with them and did not find ways to make up the money, we would all be.
Yeah, it's
really
such a
tough
radical
shape.
change that I don't see how they can accomplish it in one, say, okay, we're going from this to this. It's like trying to put apples and oranges in a banana. I mean, it's just, I'm not against it, but you just can't Look what you do, that.
So if you hear about it, you know, you may hear about taxes and budget. And there are two bills out there that are being discussed, just so that you're aware to ask somebody, you're talking about the state budget, or you're talking about the tax reform proposal, so. But we will keep an eye on that as well, and, you know, my hope would be that it kind of dies out before the state budget comes to a head, so that we can really focus on the state budget and not worry so much. But I don't know all the inner workings of it, of either of the bills right at this moment, so I can't say how much one might depend upon the other. There's also a library facilities conference that has been scheduled. I mentioned this last time, and they actually are now calling for programs. And before, when they first just had announced it, I was really interested in sending somebody. And now that I see what they want to have for programs on it, it's really going to be important. Because they're talking about things like sustainability, energy efficiency, prevailing wage and construction requirements, and patron-centered design, all kinds of security, cybersecurity risks. So it's really, it's going to be full, and it's going to be important that we go and learn some things from it. And I think that's about it, because really most of what's come from the library council in the last, since our last meeting, is all about budget, except, and you may have heard this, the trustee dinners. So, you know, they took a little hiatus during COVID, but we are doing regional dinners. The one closest to us is at the Roberts Center in Wilmington. We've been there before. Barb, you and I, and Tracy went one year, and I think Karen went with us one time. April 20th, that's the day after the April board meeting. Yes.
Oh, it's on a
It's,
Thursday, okay.
yes, it's also the day of the Chamber's Drucker Awards program.
Oh,
Which the Chamber board member I have duties at. So I may be enlisting some other library staff to be representing, and I'm hoping you will kind of look at your calendars and see if that's something you might be able to go to. It's really good to hear information from Ohio Library Council directly from them, instead of, you know, my little snippets and summaries here and the other. This past
Is it just for the board and staff? Like my husband couldn't go.
one year, I couldn't get anybody else to go. It was me, and I took my husband because I said, I'm not going to sit there alone.
Right.
I mean, I paid for him, but you know, it was one of the, and maybe I should. Where's my notebook? It says I shouldn't say this in out loud in a meeting, but you know, so it's my husband and I, and another male board member from some other place came over and introduced himself to my husband and said, "What library are you director of?" And I'm standing right beside, yes.
Wow.
And I
How
bet
about
you had your badge on too, because I was gonna say, as I remember it,
Wow.
when we
So this was an
lived-
older gentleman.
No, it hasn't died out yet, no.
Say probably a contemporary of ours, you know,
Oh.
and yeah, it was, I just thought that was really
Huh. Okay,
interesting.
that is
Well, they
like,
have a time
And
for
so I
the-
stuck my hand and I said, I'm the director of the Brown
Yeah.
County Public Library.
You know,
And I smiled.
And he caught himself.
And he said, nice to meet you. And it was a very short conversation, and he went on to somebody else.
And he didn't say, come on, really, who's this director?
No, he didn't push that any further. So,
Good, good.
so I just will say, you know, in a female heavy industry, it's very interesting still to see where leadership is, you know,
Oh, yeah.
gender based
Oh, yeah.
leadership. So
Do they have a time for the dinner on the 20th? Because that's,
6 o'clock, I believe,
Okay.
is this registration, 6:30 is dinner, and
Okay.
7 o'clock is the program.
okay, I'm putting it on my calendar.
And I will reach out before the next board meeting, because obviously, you know, that's coming close, and the
yeah.
registration we do before then, just to say, okay, hey, but I need to get you registered if you want to go, and yeah.
if my husband and I go, we'll pay for it. We don't want the library to pay for it. So it's a
Okay,
gift.
I appreciate that.
Yep. I was gonna see if I can rope them into it.
yeah, well, that's always the thing. Usually a pretty good meal.
He's always up for free food. Or not free food.
But yeah. Food, I'll go listen if I get to eat, yeah. Yeah.
Are we good on correspondence? Lynn?
I think there's not really anything else, because I put this in reverse chronological order, so that's old stuff that's already been covered.
Okay.
So we're good.
All right, let's go on to number 5, which is going to be the financial report by Miss Sarah.
Okey dokey. Appropriation summary report, for February. Salaries, we were at $65,015.41. That was up just a little bit, about $850 more than January. Employee fringe benefits, $14,683. That was down about $2,000 compared to January. Purchase and contracted services, $14,606. That was down $7,465. Library materials and information and supplies. The materials were $20,533, and then the supplies were $2,729. That was up $11,000. January, we didn't pay for books, we didn't pay for supplies. February is our big month to get back in the swing of paying for things. You'll notice that I did do a transfer out of the general fund, and we put it back in, so I put it into that new grant. January versus February general expenditures, we were just up $3,127. So very comparable to January. You'll notice the new grant is 2010 ODE LAL fund. That's been set up since the last board meeting. Appropriation summary, month-to-date expenditures for all funds was $246,496. That seems high, but that includes that $75,000 transfer. So that's why that's kind of higher. Bank reconciliation reports, receipts for the month of February, $108,650. Payments, $171,537. I made no adjustments. You'll see some adjustments in March. Outstanding payments, all February checks have been cashed. That's unusual. I like it. General fund cash flow summary. I have a little typo under February. It still says estimated, but it should say actual. I fixed that. But your report doesn't have that. So public library fund for the month of February, I received a deposit for $93,762.53. Services provided to other entities, $5,538. That was a lease agreement. Other receipts, $350.97, bringing my general revenue $99,651.50. General fund expenditures, we already talked about all of those. Cash balance for the general fund, $540,582. I am happy to report, you'll see this next month, but I've already brought in over $467,000 in March. So yay, we got a big tax. Yep.
Yeah, which was more than we had anticipated.
Yep, and it was higher than
higher than last year.
so.
So I have one question,
Okay.
actually two, because you mentioned verbally that the February services to other entities was the lease. Was that both the lease for the law library and the law library?
I think it was just one. Let me,
Because it just, the amount of it makes me kind of go.
I think
Ooh,
the
that's
amounts
not-
were different than.
So maybe
last
they
year.
just paid all the whole year at once.
Let me,
Okay.
sorry.
It's just, we wouldn't this is one of the pieces that, we may need a reminder, or maybe Tina, it hasn't come up in our conversations to this point, is we contract with the county law library and they pay us to provide services, but they also pay us for the fact that some of their materials and equipment and such are taking up space in our Georgetown library. So that's what that lease would be.
It was the first quarter law library lease agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the other one was, on my copy, it said advance out from March of last year for the renovation.
Oh, yeah.
So that's gonna
that's the one.
disappear
Yeah.
eventually, but it doesn't add into anything.
No, I'll
Okay,
take that
all right,
out.
I just wasn't sure. I thought to myself, I don't think there's a reason why it's still, it doesn't.
I just missed it when I was
Okay.
typing up this
Yeah,
report.
no, that's not a problem. I just thought, I don't know. I hope there's nothing still outstanding. We have to do
I
that.
don't know.
Okay.
That's
So the 75,000 you transferred, when will we get that reimbursed?
So I was actually thinking about that today because the grant is a reimbursement, right? So we have to have something in there to be able to front the money to pay for it before, and we can only have the reimbursement once a month.
Yep.
So I think towards the end of this year, we could safely put half of that back into our general fund.
Yeah.
Because we aren't going to have, as far as the plans go, unless something changes, we aren't going to have any big ticket items left. And it will just be ongoing
Yeah.
contracts or supplies, and so it'll be a much smaller amount.
And it's just dollar for dollar, so they're not going to reimburse us on
Yeah,
lost,
there was no matching
Like-
funds required on this one, and yeah.
like a week loss or something.
No.
Or we invested that in
No,
appropriation. Okay.
no, just dollar for dollar, so.
I just removed the advanced out on my working document and changed it.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
good.
it was just kind of a
That
plain
was
favor.
really my
Yep.
favorite, so-
Yep. Nothing's changed. So bank balance, 540,000, that's gonna be much higher next month. Cash summary by fund. This report does not show that, advanced out or that transfer, I'm sorry. So, without that, my expenditures for the month of February was 171,496.41. I like that number better. That transfer really just
It inflates
it felt too high, yeah. So, February 2023 expenditure reconciliation reports, payments, $93,058. Our two payrolls, you can see were pretty similar. The first one, 33,849. The February 28th payroll, 31,904. Board chair retirement was $9,205. Medicare, $922.91. The board health insurance, $4,385. You'll see my local taxes, health insurance for employees, $1,090.80. That transfer out. Total expenditures, $246,496. Payment listing. Any questions about the payments? You'll notice a couple big checks to library design. Those were from 2020. What year was last year? 22, open PO. So I was happy to kind of shave those down a little bit.
because we actually had deliveries and installation.
Things are moving. Fund summary report. I already mentioned several times my month-to-date expenditures, 246,496. Open POs for 2023, 165,827. For the year 2022, I still have half of a PO left for Porter Construction. He's not quite done. I think he's in the home stretch.
This close to the drainage, yeah.
And then $7,751 for library design. I have about $859 still open. I think I have one credit card outstanding and a couple Ingrams, which is our big book publishing company. And then for the Georgetown renovation, I still have a check or PO for $1,758 for due. So I have around $19,000 still in 2022 POs. I'm ready for those all to go.
Can I reach out to Judith
Yeah.
and say, now you ever gonna bill us for this?
Questions?
I think we're good. I'm gonna need a motion to accept financial and investment reports, approve paid bills, and accept donations. I'll move.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina. Thank you.
All right, on to the executive director's report. Lynn, starting with building report and statistics.
Yeah, so you do have, a manager present to answer any questions you might have about either Fayetteville or Sardinia, I guess, and Tanya is also, on virtually, and Heather, I know is listening. She may not want to talk again, but are there any questions that I can address them or managers, anything you want to say?
I just wanted to ask about the emergency response time in Sardinia.
So we have a new mayor in Sardinia, and there have been instances over the last few years where we've had to call the police, not super big emergencies or anything like that, but where we needed an immediate response from police. And it took them a really long time. In fact, some of the times they never showed up. So the sheriff's department never responded. Yeah. One of those instances that I was referencing in that earlier report is not, that wasn't a recent, that was just an example, but we did have some drug paraphernalia found that was brought in and left with us for safekeeping because it was found in our area. And we, it took a long time, sheriffs had to respond. So in an open kind of forum where I was present with the mayor, I had a conversation with him just about our ongoing partnerships and things that, we're looking forward to. There's a lot of momentum and he seems like he's going to be doing a great job. And one of those things I asked was about police response time. And they said that they're going to work on that they're going to try to reduce that immediately. I guess, they don't have a ton of police officers that they can employ right now, but that was something on their agenda. Maybe scheduling wise, during hours when it would be more needed as they're just kind of all over the place. So that's something but we have a really good relationship with the sheriff's department. And they have said, if there ever is any question about staff village, police being on staff, that, just to call them and let them know we need their presence right away and they will show up. So.
That's good. Wow.
Yeah, living in small, is that a bunny rabbit? They just went by. Oh, it was a kid.
Oh.
Okay. I just saw the white. I thought it was a bunny too. Living in small town America has its real benefits, right? But then this
It
is one
has
of
its
the
negatives.
disadvantages is that, there are some towns, police force presence from other places or if they have their own, it can be sporadic scheduling. And if they're doing something that's emergency, you're going to be down the list. But, we are fortunate that the county sheriff is also very responsive. I think that the various police agencies work pretty well together most of the time, at least from, what we needed from them, in terms of them balancing, who's going to go and take this now. And
So jurisdictionally, it's Sardinia's police that have jurisdiction.
Yes, they have a village police department, but it's only part-time.
But
It's
the Brown County sheriff,
Right
it's
here, we
still
have
part
a
of their
part-time one that.
Right, yeah.
Not even part-time.
Yeah, it's the same thing in
We
Fayetteville.
have the same thing. in
Okay.
Fayetteville.
Yeah.
We actually had an instance with Fayetteville too. What's funny is the day before this Fayetteville call, I had to call the police here at Fayetteville the day before, 24 hours before. And we always have a great response with Fayetteville, always. They are always able to come. But that particular moment, they were out on another call and I had a sheriff respond. He was the same sheriff that responded the next day. And he walked in and told me at the second place, he was like, what did you do? So he was, but they were, the sheriff's department was very quick and they had a great conversation with me about, if ever in doubt, let them know
Yeah.
that I prefer sheriff to be dispatched or whatever.
I have two comments. First, a good one. Well, they're both good, but I am so excited about the Mount Orbit learning.
Oh, the little
experience, or
boy
the
or
unique-
the little
Yeah,
child.
the video of the nonverbal
yeah.
child that
Oh, yeah.
responded
Yeah,
to our.
that was really
That's just,
uplifting.
I mean, that is just golden.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
also, I know, because somebody else talked to me about not just your donations, but sometimes people come and fill up your dumpster with books and things like that.
For books.
Not well, I've seen that your dumpsters get stuff in it too.
No,
other people.
Here,
Yes.
not
I thought it was
Okay.
a book drop.
Well, the book
Yeah.
drop too, but I just wondered, how much does it cost to get like a trail cam that just, when you're not here, that would take a picture? it wouldn't be on all the
I
time.
would be surprised when I worked up at Chatfield, the people that would drive up there and put their garbage in the dumpster
Yeah,
rather than pay.
yeah.
And we don't have a dumpster here. We only have
Okay,
a trash
okay.
can.
Oh, I know. It was the
Yeah.
dumpster at the park. The dumpster at the park was getting books,
We don't have.
but that's not from us. But I just wondered how expensive it would be for, to find out who's dropping it. If that's something we want to look into, or at all the libraries,
Well, I
or
was
any
gonna
kind of a
say-
security situation.
And that would be, we've had a couple of, our risk management person from the Ohio Plan came and did an assessment and, made some recommendations. We had a separate, company come and
Mhm.
actually do a full assessment. And, when you're looking at $40,000 to put things in,
Yeah, I wasn't talking about a full security.
Right,
But,
so,
yeah.
but then there's the other part of it is, okay, so if we've got cameras and they take pictures of things, then we're obligated to share that, I mean, what's public record and.
Oh,
what we
okay,
keep. So
okay.
That's an easy fix, but it doesn't have easy ramifications.
It's not a remedy.
So we
Okay.
want to, we want to protect, we want to have security, but there's a level of, okay, so if we have it, are we prepared to handle it legally and properly is, the whole thing. And, we're add that to 397 on the list of things to do.
Yeah, somebody just brought it up to me
Yeah.
outside the
Yeah.
library, and I thought, well, it's something we can,
Yeah.
Kind
throw
of
out
going
there.
back to the issue of response times and things of that nature. So I'm assuming each of the branches, the staff have first aid training and like different, like, I'm just thinking, God forbid in a society, like, do you have Narcan here? Like, things of that nature, because the response times are so low, like, do you have like things for like a defibrillator or something like that for
We
emergencies?
do, so again, our Ohio Plan, we've had them do various first aid, we did tourniquets and bandages. We actually had scheduled CPR and they,
That would be great.
did they do that at the last March one?
I think
What was it?
I don't think we've done CPR. But we did first aid.
First aid.
we had it scheduled and then COVID.
Well, and there was, I'm really blanking on what we did last March, that was broadcast from Georgetown because people came and we got workbooks and.
That was just first aid.
And we got first aid, so that was basic first aid. So we do that, we don't do it every year and we don't have anybody not any certified CPR people. The conversation about Narcan has come up before, because there was, there's been, especially when it first, we had that first wave of it kind of, has it been 6-7 years ago? I don't know when it first reared its ugly head and again, liability issues and dangers to staff and those risks versus having things on. And I know Amber has been in meetings with the
Is that what you're gonna say, the drug coalition?
yes, the drug coalition about that. And so there are more resources available than there were in the past. But that's not something that we have, has been brought as a proposal to say, okay, do we want to do this? And then I'm sure we would have to research what are the current liabilities and risks
Right.
about that.
And there is a
There
liability
is a
element
lot.
there. I mean, it's crazy, but someone that they tried to help an injured party or whatever, and then it goes south, and then the next thing you know,
You got
it's a
lost.
lawsuit, you
Yeah.
have a lawsuit. Not that it's litigious out here, but there's still that added.
Possibility. Well, I think schools now are trying to push for that.
There is a bill that Adam Bird, our guys put through for EADs
Mhm.
in all schools
Mhm.
because of the student that died up at
Mhm.
Winthrop
Oh, yeah.
Brown. Because they didn't have one there, or they didn't have somebody that could do
Could
it.
do it.
And that's 2 students in this locale, and I don't necessarily mean Brown County,
Right.
that had a heart situation and they didn't have the equipment. So I can see it in a school where there's sports and
We've
things
had
like
these
that.
in the school for years, and there was even
EADs,
the CPR equipment,
the
the-
shock
yes.
yeah.
We have them at East.
and they're putting
Well,
new
they-
ones. They were in all
well,
the
then they
schools in
didn't-
Brown County.
Well, they didn't
they're
use it
doing
when they
better.
did this Western Ground, because that's where the
Well, maybe
student
they
died.
didn't have anyone knowing how to use
Well,
it
that's the
because
first thing.
there's a personnel turnover.
It's
But the
pretty
thing of it is, even
self-explanatory.
on even on TV yesterday, and I can remember when I taught at Chatfield, the college credit students, there was a requirement that high school students get CPR training. I don't even know if they do that anymore, but that was on TV yesterday, that was a high school requirement, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
I will say this,
Took it in college.
since you mentioned I was at the drug coalition, if I don't talk.
With
sorry,
the,
I don't talk out of turn, but for this month, they had actually mentioned, this was, just recently, because we met in March, but they have actually mentioned, and it's the health department that has approached us before, just kind of like, do you guys have Narcan? Do you have, they've mentioned it before, and it's just kind of been muddled around, this is something that we could do. But something that the health department did bring up is that they are currently in the process of hoping to secure some funds to be able to do free CPR classes. And they did mention that if the library was open to, them being the overhead person for that, maybe if that grant ever comes through, that might be something they'd be willing to reach out to us and set up if we would allow. But it isn't going right now.
Yeah.
It's just something they mentioned. And they're gonna be maybe looking for hosts.
I think with COVID, a lot of things just weren't kept up with.
I don't know how I feel about having Narcan here. I mean. That's a toughie, and aren't there
It's a
situations
money
where,
line, and I wouldn't publicize it if we did. Like.
There's
don't
a,
make
yeah,
it-
there's a new drug that they're mixing instead of fentanyl. That is an animal.
Tranquilizer, yeah.
Tranquilizer.
It's called the zombie drug.
It does not respond to Narcan. So if that's what's mixed with the drugs, you can Narcan them all day and they're not gonna come out.
yeah, but aren't there issues with Narcan?
Not that I know
I
of.
mean, where sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well,
Sometimes
There
it
could
takes
be bad
multiple.
effects,
It takes-
I just
Same
don't.
bags,
The health department has stated, this is just me coming from the drug coalition, that there is no risk involved with
Right.
administering it, but that's their harm reduction standpoint. So just know that that's their standpoint. And they said that they are willing to come and have a conversation, just going forward, if you're interested in hearing more. I'm sure the health department would be happy to have a conversation and answer questions for you, probably, so.
It's my understanding too, but the person we just did CPR training 2 or 3 months ago. And they said the thing to remember is the person you're administering it to, you just took away every effect they had from whatever they took. So they're gonna wake up angry.
Yes,
Right.
swinging.
Which is,
whatever.
that's
That is, that, and that,
I mean, here, I can see the liability, right?
Yeah.
so therefore, yeah, you've got somebody that you just blunted everything they did.
Which I never
Yeah,
thought
I don't know
before,
if
but
we
you're
wanna, I don't know if we wanna expose our staff to having to deal with that.
so you think of the nonprofit organization, you think of the individual branches. We are an employer, so we have to have the first aid for our employees. Right? Typically, most companies do. But when you extend that to the general public, I worry about the liability exposure there. Because that's not what we do.
Mhm.
We take care of the employees. What do you think, Lynn?
I would be interested in finding out what Ohio Library Council has to say,
Good point.
what their current, because we know that this is something that changes the more information that we have, or the more the time goes on, and the whole, everything about the drug scene, it's up and down, and what's the newest mix, right?
Yeah.
And how does that change? So I think that that's something we need to rely upon. I think if we decided that we really wanted to do something, we should run it by our legal counsel. Are you gonna back us up if one of the employees gets harmed? What's gonna, we run it by Ohio plan to say, what's the standard? so I think that we rely upon that and stay away from any perceptions or misperceptions or our own feelings about, you know, the whole drug scene and, you know, how do people get where they are and what, you know, what does that mean? I think that there's a tendency to have underlying feelings about, you know, aiding people with, drugs, substance problems. I'm not even using the right language. You hear it all the time, Amber, but you know, substance problems. And so I think we just really rely upon Ohio Plan, Ohio Library Council, and our attorney to set what are the standards, what are the guidelines, and maybe even invite someone from the Drug Coalition, Deanna, or somebody to come in and give us maybe more education than what we have, you know, so that we understand better about it. We know, you know, we've seen over the years that Brown County has been number 1 or number 2 in substance overdose deaths.
Yes.
So it's not a problem, even if, I mean, it is a
Right.
problem, even if we don't see it all the time.
Right.
But before we did something like that, you know, because really, if we did something like that, what kind of impact would that have on our insurance?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
So before, I mean, I'm completely open with, you know, meeting with the Drug Coalition, but I would want those questions answered first. Because it may be that, you know, the rates are tripled, you know, if we, you know, hypothetically.
Right.
And then we wouldn't be able to meet.
And just so that you kind of, just so that it's understanding like how the Drug Coalition in the health department treats the opioid crisis in Brown County is a harm reduction standpoint. So just know that the health department and all of those mechanisms that work together, it's all harm reduction. What that means is we're not talking about resources to deal with addiction. It's just mostly harm reduction. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about Narcan. You're going to hear a lot of talk about drug take back programs, about needle exchanges. That is where the stance of our county is from their standpoint. So just know that when meeting with the health department or the Drug Coalition, it's a harm reduction.
Okay. Any other questions on the building report? Okay, then statistics, Lynn?
So as I was looking at the numbers, and I gave you a little bit, we reformatted a little bit since we now, I think, and until the state tells us they're going to change up how we need to count things and keep track of information again. I think we stabilized in terms of the format that we present our statistics, and so I was able to show you 2022 totals. Those are not year-to-date totals. That's the whole year 2022 in that far right column. And then you can kind of look at where we are this year. And so as I was looking at that and kind of just looking at that year-to-date column and multiplying by 6 in my head, you know, rounding up, I'm going, yeah, we're on track to exceed what we did numbers-wise last year. And that's not a bad thing. And it actually kind of affirms the fact that we all feel like things are kind of crazy, busy, and life has returned to pre-pandemic and or greater activity, you know, at least in the libraries. Looks different, you know, it is a little bit different, but it's busy and we're doing our job. And then, you know, at the bottom, I've kind of just kept track so that we have it somewhere on record, you know, how long Georgetown has been closed for various things. And I believe it was Monday, but Tanya, you'll have to, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, that they actually cut the ribbon, figuratively cut the ribbon into the children's area because it was all set up and the books were on the shelves. And so it's going to be exciting now to see how the response is and how activity, you know, really starts going. And May will be back in Georgetown. So that will be an opportunity for everybody to see what's there. And so that Wednesday, so I think it's May 17th, you'll get a little preview. Of course, this is Mary Key's 100th birthday here. And they're they're planning some events and a reception on Saturday, the 20th. And so you'll get a chance to come and actually see some of the things they've got set up for that little open house that they're going to have on Saturday. So I think that's it, unless anybody had any specific questions about any of the statistics.
Any questions for Lynn on statistics? Okay, thank you, Lynn. And it's on to announcements.
So I gave you an announcements sheet, and so I'm going to point out a couple of things facilities wise. On the road to getting Georgetown reopened, of course, we had that drainage issue, and obviously we haven't gotten the loop yet about moving the gas line. Keith, his mother passed away within the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So that kind of slowed down any progress that the weather didn't already. And then Library Design came in and put up put up shelving in the old part of the building, and our staff were, gung ho about getting the shelves filled, and many of the shelves came tumbling down because they had not been anchored correctly. Good news is it did not damage any of that siding that was put up. And the other good news is Library Design, the minute that we let Matt know he was scheduled, and then I believe it was the next day that people were back securing that shelving. So, kudos. We all probably would have preferred that we didn't have that little hiccup, but that was one of the vendors that we knew we could count on to make things right, and they did right away. And right here, when that tornado came through, I don't know, Amber, what it is with you with police reports and Sardinia last year.
Just like a quarter mile down the road, the barn was completely, the banquet barn was completely.
Oh, yeah.
Leveled.
It was huge, and they were all spread over the field.
The tree out on this side of the building, and I think I have a picture, I'll just pass around, was blown over, and a little piece of or whatever. So we've got our landscaper that's going to take care of the stump.
Oh, yeah.
When he's back in the area, he's not going to charge us for grinding the stump down, but took care of the tree itself. And then Keith, I believe, was going to get on this putting the trim
Yes,
back.
he's already been contacted.
Yeah, so thankfully, no major damage.
It was really kind of comical. Last week, I was at the Eye Institute, and one of the nurses there with my eye doctor, she said, "You live in Fayetteville?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Did you get any damage?" I said, "No, I sat there and I prayed. I got no damage whatsoever." But right up the road, a barn, big, huge barn, completely down.
Brand new
And
building.
she said, "Van Cook?" And I said, "Yes." She's, "That's my relative."
We spent 45 minutes in the basement with an upset dog, so
Scary.
you could hear them, but all we had was
We have
shingles.
a coal room under our porch that's very safe. Underneath that concrete are railroad tracks.
Wow.
Our house is probably 60 years old, I guess, or maybe older than that, maybe 80 years old. I don't know. But by
1930s,
myself,
yeah.
I thought, oh, I don't know if I want to go down there or not. I might run into a rat.
So I was here by myself and I just took shelter in the bathroom, so all.
Yes.
I just sat on the couch and watched out the window.
Amber, I am so grateful for your calm and cool head in circumstances like this. And, not that I could have done anything from wherever it was at the time anyway, but, I really appreciate that.
No big. I've been through one, I've been through.
Experience. Dorothy.
Yeah, there we go.
Dorothy.
And hurricane, but not tornado.
And then, you've got the community engagement activity report. And so if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those.
I did want to say, I don't know if Heather's still on the line, but I did introduce her to Steve Brokamp from Junior Achievement. So I don't know.
There has been some email conversation, yes.
So I'm glad that kind of
Yeah,
worked out.
Yeah.
Hopefully something will come of that.
yeah, absolutely. And, Sarah and I last Wednesday did a 3-hour virtual training with people from the uniform accounting system,
I've gotten a lot done.
because we will be required to use a new chart of accounts. And I guess historically, libraries have not broken down their program codes in the way that they want, in a very specific way. So at year-end reporting, you can't go, oh, well, how much was administrative costs versus how much was actually things that supported patron activity? You know, it's like schools do student-centered things versus support for, you know, so we are having to make changes to our accounting. And we're supposed to, by the end of the year, we will not be able to use any of our existing numbers in our
Except for
accounting,
capital projects.
except for capital projects.
We've done that right.
So theoretically, the budget that, you know, I tried to give you in April as kind of a draft of what has to be passed by the May meeting that goes to the commissioners and then the budget commission, that theoretically is supposed to be in the new chart of accounts. But they just came up with definitions, and even at this training last week, they said, well, we're going to have to go back and review some, you know, these definitions that they gave so we can determine where to put things. And so you probably are going to get next year's budget in this year's accounting numbers. And then when we get those definitions, we'll convert them all. So just be aware that
The bottom dollar will be the same.
yeah, the dollar will be the same.
How are you able to compare historical data? You're not having to go back and change past reporting. Like,
No.
how will you be able to do a year-on-year comparison if you're no longer using the same category?
All right, there are 4 parts to an account number. There is a fund, there we talk about the general fund or the technology fund. There is a program code, which is what we're not using enough of. There is an object code, and the object is the thing. Those will not change.
Nope.
So that says, okay, this is a salary line, or this is a rent line, or this is a, I don't know, what, books or whatever, travel.
Telephone,
So
postage.
those won't change. So we could compare by that level.
Yeah.
And then we also, the last piece is called a cost
Cost center.
center. Apparently, it's not common for libraries to use cost centers.
And
Some of
UAN
them-
does not let them.
and UAN doesn't really care for them. You know, we use them because we can then we can track by branch. Right. So we know how much we're spending in each branch. They gave the example of saying, oh, well, in your 411 account code, which is books, you might go 0001, and that's all children's books purchases, or, you know, and break it down that way. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
So it's more granular in detail. It's not necessarily different. It's just more pivoted.
It is. And so we, you know, the biggest problem for us is going to be wages, because some people, we will be in the support, the administration line.
Yep.
Because that's what we do. But managers might have some of theirs in administration and some is in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it-
yeah. Program, I mean, it's.
We start having to divide an employee's.
It's public
Stuff like
service
that.
and
Nice.
programming, collection, development, and processing. And then under support services, it's facilities, operation and maintenance. And then information services, and then business
Thank
administration.
goodness we don't have janitors on staff,
Yeah.
or, I mean, it
An
could
IT
get
person.
really messy.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and I asked because I just had to do this at work, bringing different organizations, and I can see why they're doing it. So it can be, you know, apples to apples across the state,
Mhm.
but we had to keep original old coding, because if we got rid of it, we would have lost all of our historical data, and that's why I was asking
Yeah.
like how that was. being
Yeah.
done.
So we, yeah, and we can't mix in the year, so we'll carry this year with the codes we've got. We have to start clean next year with the new ones, but we will be able to search by that account, that
Okay.
object, so
Yes.
that, at least there will be that,
Yeah.
so.
And as of January 1, they're all 100s. They will be completely wiped out of UAN.
You
So
can't use a
yeah.
general,
Wow.
yeah, object code, yeah, so.
I did not envy you.
So that was the number 396 on the things to do, so. Just, we joked about juggling,
Yeah.
there's, juggling.
I'd say besides the salary stuff, I'm about 80% done with it.
You.
I mean, you don't have to check.
Well, and that's what we will do. I asked her to do a first pass and a draft on it, and then we work on I'm really having to think about, okay, so
Yeah.
who of our positions, not our actual human beings, but the positions that they hold, how do we break it out? So it's realistic, and we don't, but, I'm not gonna go, well, you're 10% this and 6%,
Well, there's still gonna be a lot of administrative, more work for you each month, because now you're having to pivot in so many more different categories, and that's
Luckily,
something we
they,
need to consider for your time commitment.
luckily they
Because
said, if it's somebody that does 1 or 2 hours a week, don't even count them. They're talking about significant amounts of their 8-hour shift
Yeah.
or 40
Yeah,
hours.
my best guess is that probably like the management staff, because they do in our small organization, they do some public service and that kind of thing, is that we'll probably go with what the federal definitions for exempt and non-exempt, and they basically, one of those tests is, you have to be 75% of your stuff is administrative and 25% is, direct service, and that's probably how we'll divide their salary lines, just because that's the target, an easy target. So I think that's.
Yeah, just keep us updated, like
Yeah.
the time commitment on that, if that's something the board needs to think about moving forward, like. Again, strategic plan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
How is it going
it's
to?
gonna change, right?
Yeah.
Are we good with announcements, Lynn? Okay, thank you. Any committee reports? I'm not sure that we've had any.
We haven't had any committees that have met, but I'm thinking the personnel committee might want to start getting together, because we said we would kind of look mid-year out in the state budget. So I don't know if we want to do one next month and kind of get our
I
bearings.
think we had talked about this, that once we get into summer, Tracy, it gets harder for
Yes.
her to.
So
commit.
that's the plan.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, number 6, a motion to approve disposal of property, which I believe is a yellow sheet.
Just a little bit.
Just a few.
Cleaning out some closets. Remember.
I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of property.
That's excellent.
Oh, go ahead.
Tina? Mark?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Karen? She's not here. Sue?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes,
Number 7, motion to approve lawn care and landscaping, contract for 2023 services with Nick's Landscaping and Property Maintenance LLC for attached proposal, which is,
Same exact cost as last year.
wow.
Oh, good.
All right,
You went up a lot last year though.
He did, but he hadn't gone up
Yeah.
much before
Yeah.
that, so yes.
motion,
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mark?
yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Tina?
Number 8, a motion to approve group health insurance policy for period 5/1/23 to 4/30/24 with board contribution of 80% toward individual employee premium. And then it's the anthem.
Yes, so what we try to do is we give you a breakdown of what the renewal is. We've been with Anthem for a while. This is the policy that we get pretty deep discounts because of our chamber membership and through the I don't even know what that long, and MIWA, SOCA, MIWA, something or other, the long, I don't know, it's all kinds of acronyms and, but the line, the first line with a white background is our current policy. And what I've done is just for projection purposes, I have given you at the bottom of each of those colored sections, the cost for 9 employees, because that's what we've had on the plan for some years now. It hasn't, the census hasn't changed as far as the number of people on it. But I will say to you that for the HSA portion of it, which, is a separate motion, but it's part of our overall cost, is the library board's contribution to the health savings account. We only have 6 employees who are actually participating in that. So my projected cost for 9, we're not actually paying that entire amount, but that's how much we could end up paying if every employee decided they wanted to participate in it. So we've got the baseline, right? The green is the exact renewal of that exact policy, no changes. Okay, that's a 21.7%.
I'm not surprised.
Last year, I think it went up between 10 and 11%. So I also wanted to give you some other options to think about. So the yellow is the same policy with the change that the deductible and the out-of-pocket increased by $500. So everything else is the same, but a little bit higher deductible, a little bit higher out-of-pocket. That drops from a 21.7% increase down to a woohoo 19.4% increase. Not a huge difference there by just changing that cost. The one in blue is alternate 2. This is where we introduce the concept of, instead of a 0% coinsurance, we look at the possibility of actually having a percentage coinsurance. And so the blue option, again, there is a slight, the $500 increase in the deductible from our current plan, but the out-of-pocket drops by $1,000. So that, could the out-of-pocket maximum that, could make a large difference. This one is a little over 10.5% increase from our current plan. So that's more along the lines of the increase we experienced last year in total cost. And then the purple is, again, the same concept of adding a 20% coinsurance, but in this case, it's actually kind of parallel to the yellow. It'd be deductible and the out-of-pocket go up by 500%. You're adding in the coinsurance, but it's only a 5.5% increase over what the cost is now. So there it is.
My vote is the blue.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which is going to be better than the purple.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the out-of-pocket, big difference. And very disappointing that it went up to 21.70. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and that seems to be in line with others. In the background, I asked our agent to, seek other carriers, but nothing has come back. That's anywhere different. And I would really rather people stay with the same carrier and can stay with their same doctor.
Yes.
That's a huge factor, which you can't always easily put a dollar amount on. But, I look at this and I've always been really actually amazed by what the library does for health insurance, because, we get ours through my husband's work, Duke Energy, big company, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Our deductibles and out of pocket are more than twice what this is, and they don't contribute nearly as much to an HSA as the library contributes to it, the HSA. And they only contribute exactly what we put in up to a certain amount, whereas the library is saying, you only need to put in X amount and we'll match at this other rate. So I think overall, it's still a benefit and nobody wants to have an increase without how everybody else has gone up. But
Exactly.
the fact is,
Going up.
it's becoming, I looked at it and I went, okay, now we're finally hitting again that point where it's unaffordable, but we've been able to stay with this really low deductible and really pretty low out of pocket for a number of years without having to, do anything major. And,
I mean, blue's clearly the best option.
Yeah, I think so.
Trying to stay as close as we can to what the current plan is. That would be my vote. Do we need to make
somebody needs to make a motion so we can fill in the blank and we can approve the plan, yes.
Any other? Okay.
But we have to put in the plan.
Yes.
Or alternate
Oh.
two.
Anthem alternate 2.
This is the blue.
And I will second it.
Mark,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
All right, number 9, motion to approve a health savings account program administered by Flex Bank for employees enrolled in the library group's health insurance for plan year 5/1/23 to 4/30/24. For each employee contributing a minimum of $20 per pay, which is pre-tax deduction through payroll, the board will make a matching contribution of $325 per quarter, not to exceed $1,300 per plan year. Board match is prorated based upon the amount of time during the plan that the employee's HSA is established. The board reserves the right to change the contribution schedule at any time at its discretion.
Saying that
Yep.
nothing changed from last year.
Yeah, we've
just the
done that
dates.
before. haven't
Yeah,
we?
say it's the exact same,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I move.
I'll second then.
Mark,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Barb.
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Okay, number 10, motion to approve position description for public engagement associates, which is our.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
so this is, we have a library associate position description, and it basically has existed for any associate, whether it's a youth services person or adult services, but this position is really different. We're asking someone to spend part of their time at a branch doing branch activities and, marketing and promotion at the branch, but also to develop into rolling this out at a system-wide level. So I thought it was important to actually spell out some of the things that are actually very different for this kind of an associate versus a program associate. For example, one of the things is, for programmers, we just want, we want an intermediate level computer use and technology use, but in this one, we need somebody who's got advanced skills. And then 3 of the bullet points under the responsibilities are entirely different. Planning, promoting, and executing digital literacy services is a brand new concept for this position. Creating marketing in all services or in all media and formats, and then executing those like the third to the last bullet point. So those are 3 bullet points that are different than what the regular position description actually has on it. So I thought it was important we had that in writing, so it's then easier to evaluate. And I foresee as this position morphing. The idea really is that this person becomes much more of a real true public engagement person, and it may even morph out of an associate level, but we might decide it belongs somewhere else in our strata as well. And I think personnel committee needs to talk about that as well. But this would be a stepping stone for that and help us to do evaluation.
This position would serve all the branches.
Yes, so this position is housed in Mount Orem
Okay.
but is really beginning to assist, Tanya, for example, is our marketing coordinator. And so this person is assisting, rolling out and helping other team members from other branches do the marketing and yeah. So there are system-wide responsibilities and not, we generally have fallen into, I think, a little bit of a misconception as we are internally developing marketing, and we have linked it so strongly with events instead of marketing our services in general. And so this position is going to help us really get out of that. Oh, we got to get some stuff together and put up flyers for an event and, and get out of that mindset and change it.
So I know you said you have a marketing coordinator.
Yes.
That will be more of the events, or is that person going to work with this person?
That person right now is coordinating the activities of all of the individual staff who've been appointed to handle the marketing for their branches. And so we actually see, Tanya and I have had some discussions because she's holding that position right now, at what point, can we put the person who's a public engagement person and to take over those responsibilities and free Tanya up to do other things instead. So right now, Tanya is working with and coordinating all of the activities. So we don't have, 3 people working on the same project one time when one person is doing.
Confused because I thought, wait, you said you hired someone that's new and she's really good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And that's the person who's filling this spot. Yes.
And this is the job
And
description.
this is the job
For
description.
that person.
Yes, I had given her
Okay,
a
that
draft
was in
of what.
addition to-
Yeah,
I was like,
no,
How does that work?
no, that's
I
for this
understand.
person.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I was like,
And then we need a motion.
Yes.
I will move that we accept the job description for the library associate public engagement.
I'll second. Kirk,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, I need a motion to enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees.
I move we enter executive session.
I'll second.
We're in, okay.
Stop.